So let's kick off with a look at the front covers. We're going to start with the Daily Mail, Josh. What are they going with?
Well, they've got a nice picture of, I'm guessing it's Simon Cowell. Possibly, it might be Simon Cowell. And it's saying the secret behind his startling new look. I'm going to hazard a guess it's plastic surgery.
Yeah, Botox, that kind of thing. It's not,
it could be.
Not a great secret.
He kind of reminds me of Silence of the Lambs, where, you know, Hannibal Lecter, like, cuts off the guard's face and then he's wearing it. That's who he's looking like.
It does look like he's wearing another man's face.
Well, maybe that was the look he was going for.
Yeah, well, why not?
You shouldn't be so judgmental. Maybe that's
you know what?
his
thing. It's worth every penny. It looks fantastic. But the main story has got me so angry that I don't know if I can do my Scottish accent. I'm going to try. Ministers threaten to block Sturgeon's gender law.
I wish you were slightly more angry so that you didn't attempt it.
OK, well,
brilliant.
I made a promise to someone I would do my accent. All right.
So what's going on here, Josh?
So essentially, yesterday, so they passed the law, today, about allowing 16-year-olds and above to self-ID. We've covered this extensively over the last year or so, and now you can change your gender. You can basically have a 3-month waiting period, 6 months for 16 to 17-year-olds, and then you can basically, you don't need to get any, to go to a psychotherapist or psychologist,
well,
whatever.
You need to have a diagnosis of gender dysphoria, which you no longer need to have. Now it's just declaring yourself to be the other sex.
And then you have full access to women's single-sex spaces.
Yep.
There are lots of problems with this. This has been pointed out to the SNP repeatedly, and yet they have chosen to basically utterly ignore it. So now it went through. I think it was quite strong, but still there was a few people who 86 to 39, and. Yes. And the idea is that they're sort of saying, no, that people have pointed out to them, like, the problems of this. Like, people will self-ID into these spaces, predatory men. It's not about trans women. It's about the loopholes being built into the system.
Yes.
So, and it's like they're sort of just trying to pretend that predatory men haven't in the past done exactly this, use these loopholes to gain access to these spaces.
So this is it, Paul. Why are the SNP being so belligerent about this in terms of not listening to people's concerns? I mean, Nicola Sturgeon has been absolutely clear. She explicitly said there is no merit to these concerns. But of course there is.
Absolutely there is. There is 100%. She seems to always indulge herself in the sort of politics of folly. So, what I mean by that is, this is virtue signalling of the highest order. There is no value to this policy, really. It's not that I stand against, you know, the needs of a trans person, because it's a good idea to identify what the issues are and try and make this process, I guess, smoother for them, but not easier, not simpler, because 3 months is not enough time to make the biggest decision you'll ever make in your life. And she's only doing this to appease or appeal to a certain demographic, which I'm not sure is the demographic that's going to keep her in power.
But what I don't understand about any of this is there was a clause tabled which would mean that those who are on the sex offenders register would not be eligible for this policy, and yet that failed by one vote.
Yeah, her vote, essentially. They're accusing her of basically allowing that to go through.
That makes no sense at all. Why not put into place some protections for the obvious potential for this to be exploited? Why not do that?
Half the people who now have self-declared or declared that they changed their sex in prison did once they were in prison.
Well, of course.
Essentially.
As you would.
They're going, oh, look at that. I can go over there to the female prison, which is a bit nicer. And it's like using the women's toilets. They're much nicer.
Nicholas... that as well. Yes, exactly.
She'll be proved wrong in approximately 3 months and a week's time. Because this is going to happen, isn't it? They're going to identify... I think
it's already happened. Well, I know, we've already seen...
But it's easier to do so now.
In prisons and stuff.
Yeah, no, we've seen examples of abuse, and it's absolutely clear that there is evidence that this will lead to sexual assaults in one way or another. And I suppose it's just, you know, how many is Nicola Sturgeon willing to accept?
And this is literally now on her hands.
Yeah.
But there is somewhat hope where, because there's this legal divergence now between Scottish law and the rest of the UK law, that the Scottish minister is able to step in and stop this becoming...
This is
which is getting royal assent.
So there's a thing called Section 35 of the 1998 Scotland Act, which Westminster is able to invoke if they believe that this is in conflict with Westminster equality law, which it might well be. This is unprecedented because it's never been invoked before, but what it would mean is that this bill would not go through, in fact, if Westminster say no.
And this could well be Nicola Sturgeon's plan in some way.
Right.
You imagine the stink this will kick up if it's challenged.
Yes.
It can only play into her favour then. It won't be about trans rights. It'll be about Scotland's autonomy. Yeah.